It's a funny question, isn't it? To ask what is the purpose of our own existence? To some, the question would just seem pointless. To others, impossible to comprehend. If such a person were to be asked that question, they would probably give you a response something along the lines of, "Oh, I don't know," or "What are you on about?" or "The f***, are you some sort of know-it-all space wizard?" At this point, they would probably get up from their seat, throw their natural vegan smoothie at you, and run away screaming. I'm not speaking from experience here, I'm just saying that it is a possibility. The people who know the answer to this question are long, long gone. But if you were to ask one of those people that very same question, no straight answer could be given. Fortunately for you, they gave the answer in story form instead. "Well boy," they would say, "sit down, I have a story to tell you." There was once a child, much like you in fact, who lived alone in a poor farming village near a mountainside. There was a folk rumour that the elders say has existed long before the village was even built. They say that if you take the treacherous journey to the top of the mountain, you will find the key to it all. You'll find everything that you've ever wanted in life, whatever that may be. But there was one thing that kept everyone from taking that journey to the summit. Nobody had ever returned from the peak. This was the sole reason that no one really ventured up there anymore. It was fear that kept them away. But let's return to our small friend in the village. She found out this rumour when she accidentally stumbled across the small stream that separated the farm from the village. She went running along the fields of wheat, her hands lightly brushing against the soft, swaying crops. Ahead sat two older people, one male, one female. The little girl heard them speaking to one another and snuck a little closer to see what they were saying. "They say that when you reach the peak, you are rescued by the gods and given everything that you've ever dreamed of," said the man. "Really?" replied the woman. "But how did—" She was cut off by a loud snap of a stick. The girl looked up in fear as two others leaned over her and questioned what she was doing there. The girl stammered for a couple seconds before sprinting back over the stream and into the safe confinements of the village. The man and woman looked on as the girl ran back to safety, laughing to themselves as they went back to work. Later that evening, the little girl became fascinated with what she had heard. She thought to herself, if I can make it to that peak, I could give everyone in the village enough food to last them a lifetime. With no parents, and only a caregiver to supervise her, which he hardly ever did, made leaving for the mountains all the more easier. She packed her bag with basic travelling supplies and headed off. Before long, she had reached the bottom of the pathway. She looked over her village one last time, the orange evening light blanketing the roofs, before taking one large breath and stepping into the unknown. After around an hour of walking, the girl stopped in a small clearing surrounded with lush vegetation. She opened her pack, took out her drink, and took a swig before lying down on a smooth but cold rock to rest her legs. Sleep overcame her soon enough. The next morning, she reached a rocky impasse. She looked all around and saw a small gap near the edge of the hill that she could slip through. She got down on all fours and attempted to crawl through the small hole. She nearly made it through until her bag caught on the rocks above her and she could move no further. Realizing her mistake, she tried to back out of the crevice. As she made her way back out, the strap that went over her left arm slipped and left the bag dangling at the deadly drop that fell below. Terrified, the girl reached for the bag with one hand and a good hold on the rock face with the other. But as she moved, the bag slipped some more, causing it to slip down to her right hand and down to her wrist. As she struggled to keep a hold of the rocks and her bag, she realized what she was going to have to do. Reluctantly, she let go of her bag, letting it fall to the depths below. With her now free hand, she grabbed onto the rock face and pulled herself back up. The girl started crying. She had lost her main source of food and shelter. She only had her water bottle, which was strapped to her leg, but that was it. Looking up, she realized how much of the journey she still had to take. By nightfall, the girl found herself on another cold, hard rock, thinking to herself, once she makes it to the top, survival won't be an issue anymore. She would have enough for herself and her entire village. It was that one thought that got her up off the rock and continued her journey into the darkness of night. Throughout the nearly pitch-black pathway, she made her way onto the mountainside and began to run. She ran because she knew what was lying at the end of the pathway. But running was a lot more exhausting for the girl, considering she had no food and very little water. It seemed to her that it was impossible to reach the summit in this state. In the morning, she decided that she was going to either continue the journey or return to the village. Her stomach commonly growled for food and her throat felt parched. Looking up at how far she had to go and then down again at how far she had come made her realize that she wasn't too far off at all. She made the estimate of one more day. One day to save her village. She began running again, this time faster than she had ever run before. The path widened and thinned as she went on. Wheezing for breath, she looked up. There it was. The peak. Taking the last few steps, she collapsed at the top of the mountain. She looked over at the view and saw her village. It was barely conceivable from this height. The girl then rethought why she was here. She wanted to save her village, right? Then where were the gods? Where were the ones who would make the journey worth it? She looked all over and found nothing. Getting angry, the girl let out a scream into the sky, before slowly walking over to where she could look down over her village one last time. It was here, the god said, that the girl realized what the two people in the field were talking about. Finding everything you've ever wanted. The girl wanted to save her village, but once she had reached the top and saw her village from above, she realized what it all meant. No matter who went to the top, it was their goal that gave their journey meaning. Without that one goal in mind, why would you take the journey in the first place? The girl losing her bag took a huge chunk of motivation away from her, but even with that motivation taken away, she still managed to conceive the point of her journey. That leaves you with a story, and if you were into it, a moral. Without a goal, what is the point? Without a goal, why would you do anything? The reason that humans have lasted so long is because they have goals, reasons, and ambitions. So, back to the original question. What is it all for? Well, to give you the short answer, it's whatever you want it to be.